Some people overlooked him when he called for a complete ban on Muslims entering the USA. And again when he wanted to grab them by the pussy. And again when he mocked a disabled reporter. And again when he said all these terrible things about Mexicans. And then there was the choice of Mike Pence. And then there was the birther movement. And then there was the tweet about climate change. And somehow he wound up as the 45th President of the United States. Now, we need to rise up. Because whether you're American, British, German, European, Australian, Japanese, Asian, Mexican, straight, gay, bi, trans, black, white, man, woman, adult, child, teenager, love trumps hate.
Stronger than they are because we are better than them and Newcastle is better.
Alright guys, it's been a couple of days since the march in Newcastle, and I was so proud of my city to show that it is united against racism, against sexism, against Islamophobia, and against all of these things that have somehow in the past year, because of Brexit, because of Donald Trump, become normal and acceptable. And I'm so proud that as a city we stood up and we said no to them. There was a small fraction of EDL members there. If you're not sure what the EDL is, just Google it. I'm not going to give them any more time, but that fraction was so small compared to the hundreds and hundreds of people that turned out to unite against these things, that it just goes to show that this is the normal behaviour. Accepting everybody, loving everybody and being kind to everybody is the normal behaviour, and nobody should feel marginalised in society. And this is what this protest was all about, and this is what the protests across all of the world, the women's marches that have been taking place with millions and millions of men, women, children, everybody marching against this sort of behaviour to show actually it's not okay, it's not okay. Somebody posted on my Facebook, oh well, you did a lot of good, you've really changed things by going to this march. And I had to say, well actually it's not about changing things overnight. He still will be president, we will still be leaving the European Union. It's not about that. It's about standing up in solidarity with the people that will be marginalised or are being marginalised by these figures, and saying, you know what, I stand with you, I'm not accepting this. And change doesn't happen overnight. It's a long battle ahead. It's going to be a long 4 years, not just for the United States, but for the world. I just wanted to make this video because politics has been such a big part of my life since probably I turned 18, especially in the past year and the year before. I was really involved in Brexit. I was really vocal about remaining. Politics is something that people sometimes shy away from, but I think now is the time to not shy away. Now is the time to have these discussions, because me personally, I feel like we're in such a dangerous place when it comes to politics and what's going on in the world. And you've got all of these little groups rising up because of the normalisation of hate speech, of racism, of xenophobia, of Islamophobia, of sexism. all of these little hate groups rising up, and it makes it okay for them to hate people, and it is never, never, never okay to hate somebody. And that's why people like me need to stand up and say, no, this isn't all right. I do not believe that it's okay to hate somebody. And a lot of what we've heard over the past 2 years, whether it be Brexit or whether it be the US election, has been hateful speech, and that is never okay. So having said that, I'm going to end on one quote which I think is probably one of the most important quotes that has stuck with me since I heard it, and it's a quote from Nelson Mandela. No one is born hating another person because of the colour of his skin, of his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, then they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite.